Hello, everybody. Justin Stivers here. Thank you all for tuning in, listening to another episode of the Stivers Show. Very excited about my guest today, Miss Tina Brown. Tina is the executive director of the Overtown Youth Center. Tina, how's it going?
It's going well, Justin. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I know, loaded question. We were joking before we started filming this that now when you ask someone how they're doing in 2020, it's like you almost can't really come up with an answer because your mind just like goes to all the different things. You're like, what am I don't know what to say to that. So
Totally. You just kind of, look, I'm doing well, or I can give you a long list of
yeah.
how I'm really doing in 2020.
We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost done. 2021 is going to be a good year. I feel it. But well, I'm very excited to have you on. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you and the work you all do. And I know people watching and listening are as well. We got a lot to get to. So let's just start. I always like to start. Tina, if you wouldn't mind, maybe say a little bit about who you are and how you got to what you're doing and what you all do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, no problem. So, I'm Tina Brown. I'm a native Miamian, actually born and raised in Overtown. So it's a community that I know very well and that I love. And how I got here is really interesting. Had an opportunity to, go off to college and major in accounting and finance. And I've always had a passion for helping people, and especially after, growing up in Overtown, which is a pretty difficult neighborhood. And just kind of understanding that, once you have an opportunity to see outside of the neighborhood and get a chance to go off to college, how imperative it is to share, your experiences. And so, like I said, I've always enjoyed helping people. When I graduated college, I started a small youth group in my church just to kind of talk to young kids about college and how they can get there and all of their options, because I'm sure, kids growing up in Overtown were just like me, like, hey, I can't go to college. My parents can't afford it. Nobody in my family's ever gone to college. So how am I going to do this? So I felt it was my, mission to come back and do that. But I started working for corporate America. Was working for a CPA firm, and just, I've worked for a number of different organizations or companies in Miami. And I started helping out a church with some bookkeeping. And to make a long story short, one of the young ladies that was in the church was like, hey, you're really good in accounting, or, whatever. My job is hiring. And I'm like, I'm not really looking for a job. And so I said, where do you work? And she was like, oh, I work for this nonprofit organization called Overtown Youth Center. And I'm like, what? Like, I grew up in Overtown. Like, oh, wow, how cool would it be to, work at Overtown Youth Center? I don't know if I really took her serious, but she took me serious, like, hey, I really need you to submit your resume. And I'm like, I'm not looking, but, we'll see. So I submitted my resume to the executive director at the time, which was her boss at Overtown Youth Center. And I think she called me a day later. And she was like, hey, I'd really like for you to come in and do, an interview with Overtown Youth Center. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm in trouble now. So long story short, I had an interview with the Overtown Youth Center. And, just after the call, I just couldn't stop thinking of how cool it would really be to work in a community that I grew up in. And of course, going to school, majoring in accounting, nobody ever tells you, oh, you can get an accounting job and you can work for a nonprofit. So it was like, it's just like, whoa, I always thought you either work for a CPA firm or you work for some big corporation and you crunch numbers in a cubicle all day long. But to really do numbers, be a role model, and give back to your community, it was like a triple win for me. So after the interview, long story short, I had a second interview with the board, and, they offered me a position, and I had to go to my employer at the time. And, I was just like, I can't pass this opportunity up. I mean, this is something that resonates with me as a person, just, being able to just give back to a community that really taught me a lot, that I knew many other students needed to hear my own story, but more than that, I wanted to do more of this type of work to get some of our students, get them the opportunity that I was able to have. So I ended up at Overtown Youth Center.
That's incredible. Before we shift over what you guys do there, I mean, that's a lot to unpack, but Overtown definitely can be a rough area, right? To, you know, so I'm curious for you, kind of, you know, being able to go off and study, was that, I mean, was that huge for, you know, was that, I'm interested in that story a little bit. I mean, how were you able to do that?
Oh yeah, that was huge. Really intimidating. You know, kind of growing up in this area, like I mentioned, I mean, no one in my family had ever gone to college. I mean, my mom was great, you know, doing the best that she could do, but just didn't have that college experience. Neither did any individuals in my immediate family. And it was a teacher who really, and I don't even know if I believed that I could go to college. I don't know if I believed that I was smart enough or could really do it. But there was a teacher who became a mentor, who became almost like a family member, who said, you know what, man, what are you doing after school? Like, you could really go to college, you could major in accounting. And I'm like, what's accounting? Had no idea what it was. And, you know, he was just like, you could do this. And I'm like, no, I don't know. Like, you know, similarly, like many of my friends, like, my mom can't afford college. Like, I don't know if I'm smart enough. I just don't know. But this person, which is very much, you know, sort of why I was really drawn to the position at Overtown Youth Center, was like a mentor. And he was just like, you can do it. You're smart enough. And I'm going to help you. And he went above and beyond. He even personally paid for SAT tutoring for me. He came to my house. He sat with my mom. You know, of course, he needed to get her comfortable with this idea of me going to college. And he was just really like, I would call him almost like an uncle. And, you know, it was because of him that I really started to believe in myself. And so he kind of walked me through the entire process. Here, you got to take the SAT, you got to take the ACT. You know, he walked me through filling out a college application, you know, financial aid application, something that like nobody in my family could help me with. And, you know, it was intimidating, but, you know, I said to my mom, and my mom said to me, and she totally supported me. We stepped out on faith, and I was like, Mom, I'm going to do it. You know, I think I'm going to do it. And that teacher was there every step of the way. And if it had not been for him, honestly, I don't know where I would be today. And our work at the Overtown Youth Center, and I'm sorry to jump ahead,
Yeah, please.
it's very much, it's very much that. It is an organization that, you know, it's replicated out of a model in Portland, Oregon, and it really is about relationships. The foundation model is about relationships. It's about mentoring. It's about, you know, being there for young kids growing up in disenfranchised communities, giving them a fighting chance to succeed in life and helping them to bridge those educational, social, emotional, health, and opportunity gaps. And that's our work. And, you know, again, it really does take someone to help bring someone up, to get them where they need to be, or to where they need to go, from neighborhoods like Overtown. And so that's kind of like the beginning of, you know, my story. And our work is that it is, you know, Overtown Youth Center, we're a youth development organization, modeled after a program in Portland, Oregon. And we really do bridge educational, social, emotional, health, and opportunity gaps. And our number one goal is to ensure that children have a fighting chance to succeed in school and in life. And how do we do that on a daily basis? Number one, we work in schools. We're not your traditional after school program, and there are a lot of wonderful programs out there. But this particular model is very holistic in in the fact that, we provide services during the school day, working alongside of teachers, principals, counselors, making sure we really build these relationships so that they understand that students that we serve, they have advocates. And we're there to make sure that they're in school every day. We're there to understand what their challenges are and to help them navigate through those challenges by getting them the right support that they need. But not only getting them the right support, getting their families the support that they need to, number one, make sure that kids are in school every day, make sure they're in the right classrooms, make sure they're taking the right courses, making sure that, if they're having some academic deficiencies, that we're addressing those in our after school program, which is a huge component of the work that we do. So we are in schools, we partner with Miami-Dade County Schools, and then we have our after school program. So we bring students to our building. We provide homework assistance and tutoring. But more than that, we provide a lot of enrichment services like art, music, dance, drama, culinary, STEM programming. And those are the types of things that really help kids to really, learn their gifts and their talents and to motivate them to want to stay in school. So we have the in-school component, we have the after-school component. Then we offer summer program services where we're actually, working with our students during the summertime to continue to bridge those gaps. But more importantly, we believe in exposure. So during the summer and throughout the year, we provide an opportunity for our students to be exposed. So again, the arts, we take our students on field trips, college tours, just kind of exposing them to all of the many different sort of, features of Miami, if you will, and other places that a lot of kids from urban communities don't get an opportunity to get out and see. So exposure is key. If you never see it, you don't know to strive to do it or to achieve it. So we really believe in exposure. So we offer the summer program, and then, we couldn't be successful without a parenting program. So in all of the work that we do with kids, we have to, invite parents into the fold, right? So how do we, work with parents? How do we get them excited and motivated about what we're doing with their kids? But also, how do we help them? And so our goal is to strengthen families. We provide families with workshops, whether it's, health and wellness, buying a home, going back to school or supporting their children through school, being their children's advocates as well. So our parenting component is a key and critical component to our work. We provide services to students ages 5 all the way up through 25. A lot of programs stop at 18, but at 18 is when you really need the most support. It's like, Justin, okay,
That's right.
I'm about to graduate high school.
That's
what the
right.
heck am I gonna do? Just like me, once I graduated from high school, it wasn't for that teacher. I don't know. I don't know what would have been next for me. But our post-high program is really where we can demonstrate the return on investment for a lot of our funders. And to date, we graduate over 90% of our students from high school. Over 80% of them go on to colleges, universities, and vocational schools. And we're there every step of the way, right? So me, Tina, the little girl who grew up in Overtown, now I'm hiring staff members that can walk the kids through the financial aid application process, through the scholarship process, taking them on college tours, taking some of their families on college tours with us so they can see it, touch it, feel it, and know that it is a tangible reality for them. I'll stop there.
Well, there's a lot. I was going to let you keep going because I kept having questions and you were answering them as you were going. So I'm like, oh, this is great. But a lot of things you said. One of the things that really hit me that I think a lot of people don't realize about, some of these communities is the exposure piece of it. That, Overtown is like right here in the middle heart of Miami, and but they might have been stuck in that little area for a long time. I was a while ago. I was a mentor to a kid in Liberty City, and I took him, 7 year old, and I took him to Miami Beach, and he had never been to the beach before, and it's like, we're in Miami. It's like the beach is right there, and he had never had. And I think that's a huge piece that you don't even think about. I think a lot of people don't even think about that.
Yeah, definitely not an uncommon story. I know it to be true for my own self. Like, I didn't go to the beach. Like, we were stuck in this community. Parents don't have transportation or have very little resources. So going to the beach is, it's an expense for some parents. And parents are just trying to survive in communities like Overtown. So it's like, hey, hang out on the block, play with your friends, but that's the reach. It's right here in Overtown.
Well, and so the other piece I was I wanted to ask you about is the parenting piece, because I think you said it several times, and it sounds like you had a very supportive mom who was helping you, and very supportive. Are you finding that the kind of the community at large, the parents who have their kids engaging with your all's program, are supporting you all, feeling like, hey, thank you, if for anything else, get them out of the house, go hang out with you all for a little while?
Listen, I definitely think that parents, support their children being in our program, in our programs. And we definitely found, especially now in the midst of this pandemic, that, our parents need our support, right? So they support us and we support them in a major way. I mean, during this pandemic, we've had parents saying, oh my God, like, I really wish that, my kids could be in your center right now. Parents are grappling with a lot of different issues at this time. We have families living in literally apartments that are probably 600 square feet, right? 2 and 3 kids. Family members who have lost their jobs. You and I talked about this earlier, like, us as professionals needing to get out to regain some sense of sanity, right? Imagine being in a home with 3 or 4 people in a 600 square feet apartment. Mom is stressed out because she's not working, or dad or grandma. It's tough. And so, we realize that, our parents truly need our support, and we need them. And we need them just as much as they need us. So, that parenting piece is critical. I tell people all the time that the average income in this community is about $40,000 per year per family. And that's not a lot of money living in Miami. Right now, this community is being gentrified. And so, people are faced with having to pay rent of $1,000, $1,200, something that they've never been able to do before. And so imagine $40,000 a year, and you're having to now try to figure out how to pay a $1,200 rent payment, and you have 3 kids, and you need transportation to live in Miami. It's tough. It's tough.
Very tough. Very tough. Are you seeing? Because I think, am I right that Overtown Youth Center was founded in 2003, more or less? Is that?
Yeah, founded in 2003, built by a local real estate developer by the name of Marty Margulies. Marty Margulies built an 18,000 square foot facility. And probably 7-8 years ago, we outgrew that space, but it truly has, it served as a safe haven for young people in our community. And, as of 7-8 years ago, we've really become this community resource center where, people are knocking on our doors for all sorts of things. They want to, get their kids into quality programs where, like I mentioned before, they need the assistance. But we also see a lot of families grappling with, homelessness, and evictions and needing all types of services. So whether it's healthcare or financial support, they knock on our doors. And so, to that end, we decided that, what, it's time for us to launch a capital campaign. So we launched a capital campaign back in 2017. And the goal was really to build a bigger facility so we can expand our work to help more people because the need is there.
Yeah, and so I think you said you all have broken ground on that, or it started, or what's kind of going on with that?
Yeah, so we broke ground back in February. Then the pandemic hit, and we're like, whoa, trying to raise $18 million in the middle of a pandemic. What are we gonna do? Thankfully, we have raised a significant portion of this $18 million project. Have another $5 million to go, but thankfully we were able to secure some new market tax credit dollars and continue the construction. So right now we have some concrete and some steel beams, and we'll see some walls soon. And we're excited, and parents are calling. When are you guys coming back? And I can tell you, in the midst of COVID, I mean, we have not stopped providing services. We're providing our services virtually. We hope to get back into the schools even prior to the facility being built. Because as of when we tore down our facility, we were operating our programs out of Miami-Dade County Public School buildings, and able to touch a whole lot of students. And so, we're looking forward to getting back to that. But virtual programming has been going well, but of course, not without challenges. Students have had challenges going to school virtually. So we've had to provide digital devices to a lot of our students. We've had to, do some, we've had to communicate with teachers and principals and counselors, finding out what are some of the, issues that students are facing, getting them that one-on-one support in this virtual space. But we've been there. We've been providing meals to our community since March. So we distribute about 2,000 meals per week. And so, we've shifted into sort of meeting the needs of our community during this time.
Well, you have a tough job even in the best of times, and so this is, with COVID, exponentially more difficult. I know there'll probably be people who, I know we're kind of coming up on our time, and there's probably people who I've got a million other questions, but for time's sake, and I know you're a busy lady, so how can people, what kind of are you looking still for, obviously, funding for the new project? How can people get involved, and what are you all looking for right now, and what's a good way for them to get involved with you guys?
So, I think it's definitely been a difficult time for a lot of people, and primarily, we definitely need financial support to continue our operations. Like I mentioned, our team, we are serving as mentors, as confidants. We're bridging those gaps. And so we want to make sure that continues. Our work is long-term. Like I mentioned, we serve kids from ages 5 all the way to 25. And we want the consistency and the continuity of being able to work with our young people on a daily basis. So helping out fiscally is important to us. So, you could donate, your time, your talents, or your treasures. We have opportunities for individuals to help with meal distributions. We have, opportunities for, again, you to support financially, which is a huge need. I mean, we've seen a lot of our donors have to drop off because their businesses have been hit hard by the pandemic. But we also love our volunteers because we know that, our community needs the support, so those individuals desiring to help can reach out to me personally. My email address is tina.brown@overtownyouth.org. But I encourage all of your viewers to check out our website at www.overtownyouth.org. You can make a financial contribution there, or you can sign up to become a volunteer on our website.
Awesome. Well, I'll put all that that in the show notes as well. Tina, thank you so much for being on the show, for the work you do, and looking forward to 2021.
Yeah, can't get here fast enough, Justin.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tina. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
so
Talk to you
much.
soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.